Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, whatever time of day it is where you are watching. My name is Charlie. I am the chair of the board of directors for the Continuing Committee. It is Sunday, September 22nd, and this is our board meeting. We're going to start out briefly by having everyone introduce themselves. I will go first. I mentioned my name is Charlie Plain, board of directors for the Continuing Committee. Oop, I'm echoing. I need to turn off the sound on the stream. Sorry about that. But yeah, my name is Charles Plain, Midnight Lich on the forums, and I am the director of First Edition and the current chair of the Continuing Committee. Starting in the order that you appear on my screen, we'll go over to Adam. So,
Hey, Adam Barger, A Barger 7510, Director of Ops.
excellent. Next would be Justin.
Justin Ford, Director of Finance, with this is futile on the boards.
Okay. Next would be Chark.
Chuck, or Director of Second Edition, Chuck on the forum.
Chris.
I am Christopher Sonstaby, Director of Organized Play, and I am Laura on the forums.
Are you in prison? Because you're like on front of a beige wall, like we see when you see those videos of like prisoners in court. You're in that exact kind of a room.
No, I always moving around. I'm still in the basement. I'm just at the kind of the dining room table, game table, so there's nothing right behind me. It's all good.
It's very funny. This just framing of
If I were
if you
wearing
were
a
in
gray sweatshirt, maybe it would.
if you were in a gray sweatshirt or orange, it would be
Yeah,
perfect.
fulfill the look for sure.
All right, and then last but not least is Maggie.
Maggie Gepper, Jadzia Dax8 on the forums.
Outstanding. All right. Our first order of business today is approving our meeting minutes from our last meeting in June. Has anyone had the chance to go over those, raise any concerns? Okay, in that case, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
I'll move.
All right, may I have a second, please?
Yes, me too.
All right, let's do this. Just all in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I
Any opposed? Okay, mission minutes are approved unanimously. We will then move on to our department reports, starting with our executive officer, Maggie.
Hey, pretty quiet for me with my duties, just working on I've been working on trying to get ahead of the promos. So I've got lots of promos cut. That's what I've been doing. Not much for the executive officer stuff. Haven't really received any notes from the public on issues or anything like that. Trying to think about mission statements and things like that, but haven't been able to write anything down yet. So that's where I've been sitting right now.
Excellent, Maggie. Thank you. We did get some good conversations at Worlds in San Francisco with folks that don't usually speak up on the boards, and that was nice. So we'll touch on that later as we get into the various departments. I guess I will go next as the director of First Edition. We have been looking at results from Continentals and Worlds, and we're pretty pleased overall. There was a good representation across the three major events of different decks being played. There were some blips here and there, but there wasn't. I feel like we as a department feel like there aren't a lot of like key, this is a problem that probably needs to be banned or changed via errata immediately. A lot of the changes we want to see are going to be ones that we're going to be making through design of new cards. Maybe a few new anti Borg battle cards, or maybe a few new ways to interact with drones or things like that. There are a couple concerning decks we saw. We don't love a couple of the aggro Borg tricks that they have. And we did put a couple Borg drones on the watch list. The Romulan drones are still very obnoxiously powerful. But our analysis of post-Worlds meta is positive. We do think that the change to Preserver Obelisk and assign mission specialists, while unfortunate, and there are people who are still upset about it, did have a net positive effect on the health of the game. There were a lot more decks that had to work harder to get 2 missions or just do 3 missions, which is a good state for things. So we're happy about that. Life signs, the Vidian stuff. Sorry, did somebody?
Oh, I was gonna say, based on most of my scores from Worlds Day 1, because I was using processor mining, I usually had 7 to 8 turns every game. So that's I think that's where we want to be ish. More,
That is
more
the
turns.
low end of where we want to be. Like
That's the low
that
end
is
of where
the
we want to be.
minimum number of acceptable turns that we generally think. Once you start getting to 6 or fewer, it's too fast. It promotes the wrong type of decks to play. So we're pretty happy with an increase from 4 to 6 from last year to 7 to 8 as an average this year. So that is a net positive. Yeah.
I played the Vidian when I played against Track Barnes, who was playing Vidian, and I think it was more like 9 or 10 turns. So
yeah, Vidians are a qualified success in our opinion. They're still relatively young. They've only been on the scene about 6 months, but they had a showing at North American Continentals, and they had a pretty good showing at Worlds. Conversations that were had with players were like, yeah, they're doing what they were advertised to do, which is, put some punishment on people who want to just draw, play, and force the opponent to think some. So qualified success there. We are in the final stages of putting out a new expansion, which will be coming in October. It is called Alternate Universe Twilight. I don't think that we've told anybody that. So AU Twilight. It is 29 new cards, all alternate universe themed or adjacent, covering most of the series. Unlike the original, which was just TNG, we've got DS9 and Enterprise and Voyager and all sorts of cool stuff in there. We showed off some spoilers at Worlds, and you can find those on the boards. But that will be coming in an announcement form soon, and then releasing mid-October. And then the other big thing that we will talk about a bit more later is we have our 30th anniversary coming up. That will be starting in November 2024, when he turns 30, which is insane. But we have big plans we're going to announce and new products that are going to be coming out. So 1E is chugging along pretty well. Quick note in terms of Tribbles, we will be reaching out to existing play groups that are regularly playing Tribbles and asking them if we're not, and offering them an opportunity to help make some new Tribbles cards. They'll get to make and design them and test them. They'll go through a development phase where other people look at them, but new voices, new blood coming into Tribbles in terms of design, and we'll be doing that for 1E in a slightly different way that you'll hear more about. But all things being said, 1E's firing on all cylinders, and there's a lot of content coming over the next year that I think you guys are going to love. So, any questions on that? All right, well then I'll kick it over to my counterpart with the epic facial hair, Shark, for our second edition report. So.
Thank you. So on the TUI side, not much happened the last time before Worlds till now, simply because we just have one set in playtesting, but playtesting slowed down a little bit because of Worlds, and we adapted our timeline to not interfere with big tournaments. So Hamlet is in testing. This is said before about new Tor's Earth cards, and I think it was 1.5 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, we decided to split the double icon card with TOS and Earth icons to remove the Earth icon or the TOS icon from those cards and compensate that with creating a new set so that the errated cards will not be useless. I expect Hamlet to be in playtest maybe for next 4 or 5 weeks. And then the next set goes to testing. Yeah, that is from the production side. We have some other things happening behind the scenes for new sets, but that is not at a stage to give more detailed info about that. One of the main things was that we monitored the results of continentals and worlds very closely. And as a result of that, we first will discuss about the Varia mission that was discussed in the forum. I gave that to the errata team and to design to see if these cards needs to be errated. And the discussion about that is very controversial. I personally at this stage did not see there's any need to erase that now. As a result of Worlds, we will monitor Cardassians once again to see if we can change a little bit with errata to get them more in line with other decks. On the other side, I noticed that I guess on day one, a lot of DS9 decks were played on I think 4 or 5 DS9 decks were played. We also will have a look at Deep Space Nine, but Deep Space Nine will not be a matter of errata. There will be cards designed that get a little bit more control over DS9 speed decks. Yeah, for the Warrior missions and the Warrior mission and the new CAS, VDN CAS, there's a working together of these two cards that was not intended. So when we decide to not erase Warrior, we might go to erase the new CAS. That was the main focus of my team and me during the last 2-3 weeks. I had talked with errata lead, errata members, and design what could be cards to fix as a result of Worlds. And that is a standard procedure whenever there's a big tournament, meaning continentals, sometimes nationals or Worlds. I look through every deck and see who played the deck, what kind of deck was played, how many types of these decks were played. So that is a standard procedure. Yeah. So if someone feels something is overpowered, I just can assure that I monitor most of the decks played in bigger tournaments. It might not be that I see the same problem as I said for the Warrior missions. I do not see a problem right now except working with CAS, but other people might be different. So whenever it comes to my notice, I will react. And yeah, that's all from my side at this stage.
What were the thoughts of the Carolyn Palamas deck that Michael played at Worlds?
I haven't checked that deck in detail. I have to see. I looked a little bit. I cannot exactly remember. One thing I oh, maybe you played against that deck?
I didn't know, but I think Charlie.
Charlie did. Yeah, maybe Charlie can update me here. I know it was discussed that erasing Carolyn Paramus to make her unique. I definitely I did not agree. I didn't see that as a problem. And what I have in mind when I looked at the deck of Michael, I saw it seems to be very fragile. If it runs into different types
yeah,
of decks,
it's a rocket ship. If it goes off, you lose. But if you stop it, you don't. I mean, that's it's got one gimmick. It's and Michael told me it's like you either beat it before it goes off. You have one of the few things that can wreck it, like Cardassian Lawnmower Ducat, which different story. Or you lose.
yeah,
So,
that is how I saw this deck when I haven't played it and didn't check it in dealer. But that's what when I took a first look, I said, yeah, okay, if it works, it works. But it's not like it's guaranteed to work. And this is this is not something where I would just say I have to react immediately. Yeah, but it is monitored, but I'm not close enough. Haven't checked the deck. I just saw a little bit and thought, okay, Carolyn Paramas, I know how she works. I know how she works in the combos, but I think he played it with Ferengi, I guess. Yeah. So
yeah,
it was a kind of double headquarter deck. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are answers for it, but a lot of them he doesn't care. He's just playing his deck to get to the rocket, which is 6 or 7 turns, and then it's done.
Yeah. And how is it? I don't mind me to ask because I cannot repeat every deck I look through.
Well,
is it it's a speed with the counters? I guess he created a lot of speed or counters with Ferengi.
yeah, he creates a bunch of counters and plays Carolyn Palamas 6 times, so you get to draw 0 and spend 0 when he attempts his missions. He saves his counters for things like he can reprimand if you try to uninvited or whatever. So you basically he does both Varia missions with 6 people, and you get no dilemmas. So if it goes off, it's
Yeah,
sucks to be you lose. So
yeah, we monitor that, but at this it is on my to-do list and it's monitored and it's also discussed with Rada or design. I cannot remember exactly. If we change the warrior mission, we can keep an eye on that too.
I can
And
just my 2 cents for what they're worth, which is less than nothing. Chewie's got a critical mass of dilemma avoidance now, and it's got to be. I don't necessarily know if it has to be reined in. It probably should, but it can't be advanced. There's like all of my games involved somebody doing some amount of I don't care about your dilemmas. I'm going to either unstop all my people, I'm going to play people who can't be stopped, or I'm going to make it so you don't get any dilemmas. And it's just there's a lot of that, and it's not really Chewy.
I concur completely.
That's just my 2 cents as
somebody who
hadn't played 1E,
but go ahead.
Hadn't played 2E in forever, showed up, and that was like most every game. And I can't complain. I didn't lose a game in day 1, but it was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here that just ignores my dilemma pile, and that's
yeah.
And it's been around a long time, so it's not on anybody.
I agree with you. Some of the cards are already discussed behind the scenes, but I just can talk with a Rada team or make some notes, talk with people about the team finally decided. But generally to say, okay, one of the things is that Carolyn Paramas is gassing, not the problem if you create these kind of decks. I agree with you if you say you have a lot of things that prevents dilemmas. 1 or 2 cards are already on my list given to the Errata team, but that's a general problem. On the other side, for this deck, I like to see it a little bit more, but we have some other cards to fix, and if we fix Varia for other reasons, it might be have impact on his stack. Yeah, but I agree. To say okay, there are a lot of things to unstop personal. I have to say, if I go to Worlds, I have to prepare myself. Okay, you cannot prepare for everything. But two decks I had on my list, not Michael van Bremen's deck. We tried to figure out what he's gonna play. Maggie and I did, but we didn't find a solution. What he plays, Maggie was a little bit closer than
I said he was going to use Carolyn Palamas.
Yeah.
Because that's an old trick I've seen him use before.
Yeah,
but I did not expect Ferengi.
Yeah. So, but yeah, me too. But to say, if I prepare for Worlds and I see second edition, I expected two decks being played. That one was Cardassians and the other was Deep Space Nine. So, and if I have Cardassians, I can prepare a little bit for myself. I haven't seen people prepared for the Cardassian deck. I do not. You can discuss whatever you want, but unstopping, for example, if you play a Cardassian unstopping version, I haven't seen people playing Lethal Wound. What could be a card? I saw it, and I can remember one, the Black Empire, where I saw it. On the other side, I haven't seen much is Swashbuckler at Heart to prevent any interrupts, which gives me 2 card draws, which is very strong against.
But they just tell it.
Yeah.
They just get rid of it with tell. Like
or
it doesn't ever hit Swashbuckler at Heart.
Exactly. So Teller is one of the cards. Teller is one of the cards on the to-do list. Yeah. So the problem. Sorry. Give me a second. So the problem of Cardassian is they have a lot of cards that, if they work together, it is very, very destructive. Yeah. It's very destructive. So I think we have discussing at the moment 3-4 cards of Cardassians, and we already monitored cards. Yeah, I'm always a little bit ahead. If I do it with errata, it takes time because we just monitor and want to figure out which card we want to read. But there are already cards in design showing up with the next set, targeting a little bit Deep Space Nine and Cardassians. Yeah. For example, the perfect way to handle Cardassians, if you're not going for the interrupts, is simply a little bit more killing. Yeah. So, and a dilemma that kills Cardassians a little bit harder, they have, beside equipment, I think they just have to cut, preventing a kill, and what is it? The 4 costing Cardassian guy, I guess, has a kill. So we have, on the design side, things are set in motion for the Cardassians, and on the other side, for controlling cards like Teller, once again, maybe enemy of my enemy or central command, it's at the errata team right now. For Deep Space Nine, we have it on the design side. It is 1 card in the next set for Deep Space Nine, and then we want to see. But my strategy is, if I see a deck, and it was a standard deck, and that is something that concerns me more, that in 2 of the big tournaments, standard decks won that haven't changed for longer time. But normally, if I erase a card or let the team erase a card, we go step by step. So maybe we have to erase a second time, but I do not go in all in and say we erase all 5 critical Cardassian cards, doing Teller, doing Mila, doing whatever, and then we erase the affiliation to death. So that needs a little bit time. But there's
I think we need to move on. This is not the forum for talking about all these.
Okay, So okay. But
thank you.
Thank
you for that. Yeah, thank you for that. That was good discussion. Let's take a moment here to send out a big thank you to Daniel Madison, who recently stepped down as our Director of Communications. He's been a CC volunteer in some form or another for the last 12 years. He's still doing fine. Life just kind of caught up to him and he wanted to step back. So we wish him well, but we wanted to thank him. And that's why we do not have a communications report today. So next is ops. So over to Adam. So
yeah, so on the ops side, I know this is a old business topic for later, but just an update on what's going on with the Promenade. Remo is back from his summer travel. regular promenade orders are essentially going out as they are coming in. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape just for the day in and day out promenade stuff. Hot topic as it's been for the last year is raffle prizes. Last week, about 14, a little over half a dozen, or a little over a dozen raffle prizes got sent out in the mail. So we're beginning to see some progress on that front. There's still a lot left to go. I counted this morning, I think 48 more raffle prizes left to get sent out, but Dan is working on them. He's working on the next tranche. That's next to go out after the one he just sent out this past week. From the programming standpoint, we've onboarded a new volunteer who is focusing on GEMP development. He is diving right in. A lot of progress, a lot of work, a lot of attention being made on that front recently. I do need to personally spend some time familiarizing myself with the technical aspects of that project. Want to make sure that we can take advantage of the momentum that we have there because this is a key initiative for the future of the game going forward. And then finally, I've completed a little over 3 months in this position. I posted my first 90 days sort of report and evaluation to the board forum for feedback and comment. So this isn't the place to talk about any of those things that I've observed, but just for fellow board members, if you hadn't had a chance to take a look at that and have anything that you want to comment on what I've observed, yeah, please go ahead and let me know what you think.
So I do want to note, since this is ops related, I have completed all of the very late release kits. I have finally got the fixed typo for the Varia space mission, which is now looking at errata. So yay! So those kits are done. The life signs release and phage release are all done, packaged, ready to go. I'm going to be sending them to Remo tomorrow. So I'll be getting to the post office for that. And I am currently cutting promo series 24
Nice.
for our promo series 24, and I have promo series T in the box here. And those are the last things I have from Jeremy in terms of promo production. I have sent him another order with, wait for it, league kits.
Okay.
League kits. And the release card for the next one he said should be in there also. So
Yep.
I think that's it for promo
It's a
production right now.
facility.
Great.
Spoilers.
That's helpful, Maggie, because I did get a question recently about what happens if someone orders a release kit right now, particularly on the 2E side. There's not much they can do with that. So great to hear.
Yeah,
stuff coming.
nobody should have been able to. I haven't put those release kits up yet.
Yeah.
Did somebody order an old release kit?
There was, I think, I'd have to look again, but I think someone actually ordered a release pass, but then did not have anything that they could use it on. So
Oh, okay. Well, then that just sits in there. That
it
just
should
sits in the
just sit
promenade.
there, right?
Yeah, it just sits in the promenade until there's a release kit
until there's
available.
something that they can get. And I was
Yep.
just curious if there was anything coming down the pike soon that they could use it on. So that's great to
Yes.
hear.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. We will hand it over to Chris for OP talk.
Sure. Since our last meeting, I think it was in July, we've had obviously Continentals. Those are both North American and European Continentals have happened. Some regionals have trickled in, lots and lots of locals. I usually rattle those off, but there's so many venues, it's not really time considerate to do that. And then obviously Worlds. And I got to give a shout out to Charlie, who showed that he does know how to play both of the games, making day two in both events. And, it was weird to say that Vidians were a thing and not just in 1E and 2E. So I think that's very cool to see both games being played, the Vidian affiliation. If you're into the guys whose faces kind of change every few episodes, I hope you had fun playing those. Charlie, I know you played them. I think some other folks did. I think Eric did in 2E for sure. But yeah, that kind of dovetails really nicely into my report looking forward. Next year will be the year of Vidians. That's where we're going to go with the organized play promos, back to kind of the year of affiliation vibe. So we're currently just starting that process, looking at what we can AI. I know there's not a lot of images for Vidian, so you might be looking at Vidian adjacent cards or objectives or maybe missions. We'll kind of see. Like I said, just starting that process. Looking ahead, kind of between now and the end of the year, there are a number of dojo events if you want to jump into. The Tuesday night Tribbles that Maggie runs this coming week. Online Masters will be starting again. We have a bunch of people signed up for those tournaments. German nationals, British nationals, and there's still some more regionals that are going to be happening in the next few months. So still a lot of competitive high-level events if you want to get in on those, especially online. Those two big masters, I think, have 18 to 20 people or 15 to 20 people signed up for both. So that's a really good opportunity to play some of those new decks and maybe some broken ones too if you want. And as always, organized play tends to pay attention to those results too and report back to the two departments of 2E and 1E on what we see and if we're any concerns. So that said, if you're interested in hosting a Masters or a Nationals event and in your area and you don't have one lined up, so you can reach out to your Continental coordinator, either Jules in Europe or Michael in the US, and just kind of see if we can get one scheduled between now and the end of the year. Maggie kind of stealed my thunder there. Yes, leagues are coming back. Expect an article regarding leagues to go up very shortly. Hopefully, between now and the end of the month, because leagues start as early as October. If you're looking at doing that, we're not positive about when those league kits will be ready, but again, they're in process already. We've talked about it, and I think leagues will be hopefully well received, having taken a year off last year. I guess the final thing that we have in the organized play side to discuss is, as was announced earlier this week, maybe last week, Worlds will be going to Germany in 2025. So get your plane tickets, get your summer vacation. Johannes Klarhauser out there in Germany, who's really done a great job with the Kaiserfest series of events for several years now. He will be your host for Worlds next year. That's what I got. Any questions?
I was muted and nobody heard my awesome joke. Can I borrow some money for a plane ticket to Germany? So
I work at a bank. I might be able to get you a loan. Sure. So does
If I can't get sabbatical, Charlie, I'll pay for your ticket.
Oh no, you will not. So, I've got it on my calendar. It's too early for me to say for sure I can make it, but I would really like to go. Since I accidentally fell into second place, I got this buy. I should try.
I like how you say you fell into it. Yeah,
dude.
okay.
I kept saying all weekend, I don't understand what's happening. I keep accidentally winning. I had I should not be winning games of either game, and yet somehow I went 3-0 at the WCT, and then did really well on both day ones. I don't know what was going on. So,
you know how to play, and your deck is good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually how it works.
Well, you would say that. You built one of them for me. So.
I did not do anything. I didn't play it. You did.
Anyway, thank you for that report, Chris. Any other questions on OP? And I didn't ask any questions for Adam on our ops side. All right, that will take us to our last report of the morning with Justin.
No, we'll just keep it pretty short. Yeah, it has been a pretty busy last 6 weeks. Between two vacations, Worlds, and then up working in California and driving home. It's been a whirlwind. But look for the next quarterly update. Will be coming out on or before the end of the month. A couple things we've been working on, getting some stuff for the shipping orders to help with getting shipping stuff out. We got some product going over to the warehouse, so we'll get those have been ordered and those will be arriving this week. And just a short summary, I know we are looking pretty good. Obviously, all purchases for 2024 have been done. Upcoming, of course, you have playmats, promos for 2025, and then other miscellaneous projects that might come up. So might see some expenses through the end of the year, but all in all, doing pretty good. And unless anybody has any questions, that's about it. And we can get on with the next thing of the meeting.
Okay, any last questions on any of the board reports, department reports before we move on?
Not that I can see. We don't appear to have any viewers on YouTube, and I'm not seeing any questions from
I see a couple
Discord.
viewers on, oh, maybe not.
Well, no questions at least.
No
that I can
comments, yeah.
see. No comments.
All right, so let's move on to old business. We put up 2 requests for comments on our FYI page in July. One is the About Us text that appears at the bottom of all of our forum pages. And the other one is one of the sections of our bylaws that defines our specific purposes as an organization. And I wanted to take a few minutes to look at those and possibly decide if we want to keep them open for comments longer or close those threads and maybe move on to making some changes. There has not been a lot of activity on either, so I think we should highlight it here and then move on. So we will start with the About Us thread. Has anyone had a chance to look at this? The original text it appears at the bottom of all of our forum pages. Way down at the bottom says, "Welcome to a universe with endless possibilities. We are the continuing committee, an all-volunteer, not-for-profit committee that releases free printable virtual sets and organizes tournaments for 3 Star Trek-themed customizable card games that were originally created by Decipher. In the spirit of infinite diversity and infinite combinations, the continuing committee welcomes people of all backgrounds to our community." We got one comment from Smiley. He said, "First off, I had a hard time finding it as I went to the About Us tab on the top of the page. That's maybe where this should be and not a list of people working for the continuing committee. That can be a subpage as that's less important than what we are all about. Thoughts for improvements are specific about activities, explicitly mentioning the creation of virtual sets and organizing tournaments would give a more clear picture of what the CC does. Engagement opportunities, providing a clear call to action encourages involvement. This goes for both playing and being involved in volunteer work. Contact information, adding ways to contact or join the community, addresses potential questions about how to get involved." So keeping the part already written is as good and understandable. Add more information about points he brought up above. If there's anything else I would like to add, it would be only specific to the 3 games. And I think the general opinion there is that's not the place for more specifics about the games themselves. There was a reply from James Heaney, BCS Wildbagger, who said thumbs up to the original question. And he said he is right that it is weird that our About Us page is an org chart, which is much more inside baseball than an About Us page usually is. So I will open up the floor to anyone here who wants to comment or anyone watching live who wants to comment. What do we feel about this text, about these comments? What should our next steps be?
I mean, I feel like with only having one comment, like I think maybe putting on an article reminding folks that please provide input, and maybe seeing between now and the next board meeting if we can get some more feedback, because obviously community of several hundred people, we've only had one feedback. Might be good to see if we can get some more different feedback before pulling a trigger.
Is it worth pulling the trigger in this case would be us doing some revisions and then saying another request for comment on the revised text before adopting it, as that is our SOP, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with writing up something different and having something different from the org chart up there and the About Us, because a lot of that stuff I do have in the FAQ, sort of, but nobody ever seems to be able to find the FAQ, even though it's like smack dab in the middle of the homepage. So, I mean, I would certainly be up for putting more, having that mission statement right there and saying, if you want to know more about who works for us, here's a link, and then have the org chart on a a next page down.
I don't even know if you need to do that. To me, you write one paragraph that's 4 or 5 sentences long, mission statement, high level, and then say, see below for our org chart to get in contact with who you specifically want to talk to. I think that's the main thing to me is you go, like he said, you go from about us, the very first thing you see is Charlie's on top. Nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't tell me anything about what we do, who we are. You write a paragraph that's like that mission statement, and then you just go into it.
And not to add any more work to Adam's plate, but that org chart was designed and hard coded in a different organizational structure than we have now. So it may be worth at some point revisiting how that whole thing is laid out to just, get rid of the box at the top implying there's one person in charge of everything and just sort of redo it. But I agree. I think I agree with the point that the about us shouldn't just be the org chart. It should be that whatever that text ends up being could be at the bottom of every page, but should also be on the about us page. So I suggest, well, let's move on to if there's no more comments on about us, let's move on to the other one, which is section 2.2 of the bylaws, covering our specific purposes. I will go ahead and briefly read this for the record. The specific purposes of the corporation include, without limitation, the following. 2.2.1, support. Provide logistical support and development of the Star Trek customizable card games, originally created by Decipher, and the community of players of those games. This shall include all 3 subgroups of the STCCG, First Edition, Second Edition, Tribbles. 2.2.2, maintenance. Maintain standard rules and formats, as well as a tournament system to allow members to organize and participate in competitive events playing the STCCG. 2.2.3, content. Create new content for the STCCG in the form of new cards, as well as provide support to previously released content in the form of errata, tournament formats, etc. And again, we posted this asking for comments. Our commenter is Smiley. His primary point would be put more examples in there, acknowledging that he is not an expert on how to word bylaws. But he was looking to see more examples for like actual, we say we provide logistical support and development. What is that logistical support that we provide? He suggests listing rule books, strategy guides, FAQs, forums and social media channels, and, details about the events that we order, and then so forth with the maintenance section, and so forth with the content section. His suggestions are extensive, and he even acknowledges that maybe they can be used elsewhere if they're not appropriate for bylaws. Because it is true that generally bylaws are generic and don't list specific things unless they need to, because then you have to always make sure you're carving out language to say limited but not included to. Otherwise, you get into trouble of like, you can't actually do this because it doesn't say so, because Americans like to think like that.
Well, that was my first thought reading that just now, is that the bylaws do need to be more general because of that exact point that you just made. But again, these are things that could go into the About Us page, where we could say, we could do a hyperlink in the bylaws that say, please see About Us for specific examples of what we are currently working on, or something like that.
And I do think that there is room to include some specifics in the bylaws of things that we are obviously and historically doing, like maintaining a rule book, maintaining a tournament system, releasing new expansions. But we do need to make sure that whatever wording we end up with provides and unspecified duties not listed of some sort, so that we're covered if we want to try to do something new and don't have to change the bylaws every time. So, any other thoughts?
I guess it makes sense for us to write up revisions based on the one comment and post in that thread so people can see revisions. And
well, my suggestion was going to be that we set a date, approximate date, and say we're going to close these comments on this date, and then do what you were suggesting and say, here's an article I think we wrote an article originally, but let's write another article that says, hey, we're still looking for comments. This is where we are as of right now. You have until date to make comments, at which point the board will work on updating these texts and bringing that new text out for comment. So how long do we think we want to give people to comment after doing this article? And we want to shoot for like mid-October, end of October, end of the year. What's our timeline like here?
Mid-October is good, and that'll give us time to settle on things before the next board meeting we have. And we can write
any
stuff
change.
out.
Go ahead, Maggie.
Yeah, write stuff out and be ready to, and then get comments back and then be ready to vote on changes at the next board meeting.
Yeah, I think we would want to align the timing of any changes to the bylaws to maybe the conclusion of the period of review so that directors aren't being judged on two different sets of criteria as you know as it pertains to the bylaws as to what they're supposed to be doing. I think you'd want to line them up. So an end of the year target seems appropriate for that because that would allow us enough time to formalize them before the beginning of the new review year.
So then I will propose a motion to close the request for comments October 13th, 2024. That's 3 weeks from today. With an article to go up into the system this week announcing that and pointing people to them. Would anyone like to counter move, or I don't know that we need to do a full vote on this. Does anyone disagree with that plan?
No, sounds good to me.
Okay. So we will close those threads in about 3 weeks, and then we'll put an article up announcing that that's going to happen, and then we'll work on our revisions for our next board meeting. Adam, you did mention this earlier, but let's talk about our warehouse backlog and where we are with solutions and things that we can do to get this cleared.
Yeah. So regular promenade orders, Remo's been doing a great job of getting them out as they come in. I've put a couple in myself since he's taken over, and I think I've gotten them in generally a week after I've put him in, notwithstanding his summer vacation where he was out for a couple weeks. That was announced publicly via an article. I am in communication with Dan about the raffle prizes. Obviously, I would have liked to have made more progress on this by now, but it is a good sign that it's starting to ramp up. I have his personal email address at this point, and I'll be checking with him regularly to make sure that there's path runway. Justin alluded to some materials going to Remo. What those materials are those tubular sort of packages that playmats can go into. So Remo will have the ability to send those playmats out, which was, I think, the sort of like major gap that we had in terms of addressing the raffle prizes is Dan could send out all of the raffle prizes that did not involve playmats, but because he didn't have the playmats, he couldn't send them out, which necessitated a little bit of a complicated logistical approach on how to handle those specific prizes. So once Remo gets those, we'll be able to do sort of like the handoff on the winnings that involve both non-playmat as well as playmat prizes. So that's a plan that we're pursuing. Again, ramping up. I would have liked to have been better than approximately a quarter complete by now, but I expect the completion rate to accelerate as we move forward from here. And if we see that slow down, I'll intervene. I feel kind of bad because I'm in no position to actually help out physically with completing this. I can just offer logistics support and ideas and being that person who's just constantly bringing it up so that eventually it gets done. But that's the approach that we're taking right now.
Chief Nag.
Yeah,
It's part
Chief
of the job.
Nag, exactly. And obviously open to any, comments, concerns, any suggestions on what we can be doing to make sure that this continues to move along as well. So,
And I have had a couple people reach out to me about other prizes, things like March Madness and our various other online contests.
mhm.
Our longstanding policy has been that those will go out when we are caught up. Um, but if all of those things that we have are available at Remo's, maybe we go ahead and put those orders in and get them
Yeah,
going so
I
they're
I
not waiting.
consider us caught up, Charlie. I don't
Okay,
consider the raffle prizes as being related to sort of recurring operations of the warehouse. So, yeah, go ahead and put those in and give Remo the ability to get them out because he will get out anything that he has very quickly.
excellent.
So
So if
yeah,
you have messaged me recently asking about where's my prizes for this thing, I'm going to get those put into the system for you, and those will go out soon. So
yep. And if there's anything unique, Charlie, that you've offered as a prize, feel free to coordinate with me so I can work with Remo to make sure that he has everything that you're promising out.
sounds good.
Thanks.
Any other comments on any of our old business?
Yeah, and Adam, if you want, I can show you how I have been creating orders for specific people for things like the March Madness prizes and how I've been doing that in the promenade. So I'm
That would be
happy to show
great.
it.
Thank you, Maggie.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm happy to jump on a Zoom call with you and Remo just to
Yeah,
show you
let's
what I've
just
been doing.
let's coordinate a time and do just a quick contact.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Invite me to that meeting if you can, because I have some things I wanted to talk over with you guys anyway. So, moving on to new business. We wanted to, we mentioned this earlier, but we will soon be opening a search for a new director of communications. The reason, correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason we have not done so yet is because we are sort of taking the opportunity to redefine what the position is doing. So we can bring somebody in who can make a more informed decision about the role. Um, is that how you understand it as well? I know we've been discussing it internally, but
Yes, that's what I've been seeing.
essentially we're spelling out the duties of the role more so that whomever we bring in has a much more defined rubric for by which to measure their success and their responsibilities. But we will be posting a article about that search soon. Um, Communications is a key position for us, and we're looking to make this person more empowered to do more. Um, so expect that fairly soonish. I think we're circling the wagons on a final wording, and then we'll put the search together. I will say that everyone is welcome to apply, whether you're a current volunteer or not, but we are in particular interested in seeing more, and I don't want to say outsiders, but Adam coming in and joining the board has been a very positive new perspective. And so we are also interested in seeing a similar thing happening. Again, anyone is welcome to apply and everyone will be considered fairly, whether you're an old guard volunteer or not. But if you are rejoined the community in the recently and you think you would be good at helping manage social media and helping coordinate communications plans, please consider applying when the article goes up. Anything else on that? So, okay. Next, I wanted to, and I mentioned this earlier, we are approaching the 30th anniversary of Star Trek CCG. We have unofficially adopted November 18th as the actual birthday. So there is shockingly little information available about when exactly the set came out because it was 1994 and people didn't care and keep track. So we have adopted November 18th. Um, we are announcing today, and there will be an article on this soon, a 30th anniversary kickoff live stream, which will be on the 17th. That'll be the Sunday before It'll be similar to the one that we did earlier in the year for organized play. Well, there'll be live events, and we'll have guests, and we'll be dumping, because our intention, the plan has been to celebrate the 30th anniversary for a year. So the 30th anniversary celebration will take place from November 2024 through October 2025. And there will be events and set releases and cool things happening all throughout that year, celebrating 30 years of this crazy ride we've all been on. So November 17th, announcement coming soon. It'll be on our calendars and all that. Please join us. There will be very cool things happening. If anyone else wants to weigh in on that, that would.
I am curious how many people on this call were in on the game from day one. I was not. I didn't start playing until 99.
I
So.
got, when I was 10, a starter deck of White Border 94 for Christmas. So we know that White Border 94 was at least out by December 25th, 1994. So very quick turnaround between Black Border and White Border if the November 18th date is correct.
Yep, the original Pack Series tournaments in '94 we had with old Decipher tournament director Stephen Hassenbuehler. We had probably 50 people at the local tournaments at the local library, Pack era only. Cards.
There was never a play group in my hometown. I think in 94 I was 14, maybe 15. There was nobody who played, but the local game store sold the product, and he sold singles, and I was young and dumb and worked a job, so I spent my money on singles. I had the whole bridge crew. I spent probably more than I'd love to admit on an enterprise. Never really played though until 2E. I played 1E on and off. I'd meet somebody and they play and be like, "Oh, great, let's play," and we'd play, and I get smacked around, and then, yeah. So I have not been here from the beginning, not consistently at least.
Oh, I remember training an entire enterprise bridge crew for a future enterprise. That was like the hottest thing. Like, oh, I got the future enterprise in 94, 95. Like, sweet, that's a best ship in the game right now. Nobody can touch it.
Yeah, nobody could staff it either.
I mean, it was hard, but yeah, but there was also less kill dilemmas back then, sort of, and
I don't know about that. They just were easier to get by. There were a lot of dilemmas. There were a lot of dilemmas in Premier that said all crew die.
A trip down memory lane. Sorry, I was just curious. We had folks here because I know Chris played big leagues in the late '90s, but
I didn't start though until I think AU was out, and then Q Continuum was coming pretty quickly when I finally started.
So 96 probably.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
It was one a year for a while.
Yeah, I had to be able to ride my bike up to Schindler's to buy cards, so it was 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there.
Nice.
Yeah, my college roommates got me into the game freshman year. They gave me a big box of all their leftover White Border commons and uncommons, and that was it. Game over for me.
So easy to get hooked. So.
There goes my wallet.
All right. The last thing on our new business agenda, and you'll have to forgive me if I'm wrong on this, but there has been talk for years about changing the definition of member or changing anything about the period of review. And I figured maybe we should have that conversation a few months before we start the process, rather than scrambling to have that conversation in December or January. So did we ever make a decision on changing the definition of member to be more inclusive, or did we decide not to do that? Or where are we with this? This is me asking because I couldn't figure out where the thread was on this.
Well,
So
pretty much what I've been doing when I have been asking Marcus to send me emails to do the period of review voting is I have asked him to send me emails for everybody who's a volunteer. So anyone who's been volunteering anywhere in the back end. So that like would include for this year all of the people who have jumped in on the GEMP volunteering. So anybody who's been volunteering, and so anybody who's got a premium membership, and I have also been including anybody who has run a tournament. So if someone has been a TD, that's who I've been doing. So I figure any of those people have got some kind of skin in the game.
I think that actually is a good adding definition. Member, I don't know if tournament director is listed as part of our definition of membership, but I think that's a good, could be being a member of the community. If you're stepping up and running events, whether it's local or a high level event, you should be considered a member because you're running events for the organization. So I don't know if that, I haven't looked. I should look, but I don't know if that's there. But that's awesome.
I believe the primary criticism that started this whole thing was that we're not capturing people who are actually playing. And at least capturing TDs is a step in that direction. I don't know what logistically it looks like to capture everybody who's played at all, or if there needs to be like a floor in a given year, like you have to play X times to count, and what kind of I mean, I'm just imagining Marcus watching this at some point, wishing me harm, because I'm making his life harder. And his life's already hard. He showed me his to-do list when we were in San Francisco, and it was impressive. um, yeah, the whole complaint was, are we really capturing the people who are playing, or are we capturing sort of more of a insular group? As long as I feel like we've addressed those concerns with what we were targeting, then I think we're going to be okay. Were there any other changes that we had ever wanted to do for this that we could put into place before we do this next year? Or
Well, I mean, I think that anybody who's playing, if they're regularly playing the game, that usually means they're using the deck builder, which I would posit is the number one reason to buy a premium membership, to have access to the premium deck builders. And so, people who are playing, if they're really invested in the game, all you have to do is buy a 1 month premium membership. It's $5. And so anybody with an active premium membership gets to vote. So, I mean, if you're, I don't know, $5 doesn't seem to be a big ask.
And I can't think of a
For some
better.
people, $5 is a big ask.
Yeah, but the fact is there a better proxy for a player other than that? And I don't know if there is one, without getting into things that are hard to data mine for and accomplish, right? So I think that's a decent proxy, Maggie, what you bring up. Like I don't know if we're going to find something that's easier and better to define with.
It just occurred to me that one of the criticisms that kicked off this whole thing was, I want to vote, but I disagree with many things that you are doing, so I do not want to give you any of my money, which is a tension that is tough to resolve, but it's something that we should acknowledge and see if there's a solution for,
Well, if there's an easy way, I mean, obviously tournaments are in the system, so if there's an easy way to write and out to conglomerate all of those players who've played in events, call it, if we put the benchmark at play an event once a quarter, so January to March, April to June,
That's a lot of extra work.
The player database has the last time a person has played a game. You could literally copy and paste the player database into Excel and filter by the last time that they played and use that to figure out if they're playing actively or not.
I'll play one game a month or one game a quarter or whatever benchmark we decide. If they to capture the other point, like Charlie said, people that don't want to give us a dime, they're content with the basic deck builder, but they're playing the game quarterly or monthly or whatever benchmark we decide. They should also get a chance to voice their opinion if it's not too much work for on our programming end, but
It's something we can look at. So, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and start a thread up saying, hey, these are the changes we're considering. What other changes we want us to consider? We'll leave a limited amount of time up for it because we do have a clock on this, and then reevaluate this in the old business section of our next meeting. So, does that seem like a reasonable path forward?
All right, I will post a post in the period of review. Just putting a membership question forward in the period of review. I can do that today.
Excellent.
It's on my to-do list.
Lovely. All right. Next, we have our public comment period. I have seen nothing in the YouTube chat or anywhere else, but did you hear back from we had one comment that we wanted to comment on, but it was someone was raising a concern about conduct on the forums, and we wanted to acknowledge that there's a process by which that can be addressed, which is reporting a post. We have a moderation team that is intentionally and purposefully not controlled by this organization. So if there are issues on the forums, using the reporting system and working through the moderation team is the proper path forward on that. So, was there anything else that anyone saw or wanted to comment on that we discussed today, or should we move to adjourn?
I will move to adjourn.
Obviously, we'll vamp for a minute so that people can catch up with the live, but
sure.
We have a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right. I will wait another 30 seconds or so before I vote on that motion. Everybody go around the table and tell me what you're planning on doing trek-wise between now and the next board meeting. Maggie.
I plan on playing in Masters of the Universe and scheduling a local, hopefully for the end of October. So
Hell yeah.
Those are my plans. Yes, I'm should be registered for both. I have to build decks now. I think I know what I'm playing for 2E, but I have no idea what I'm going to play for 1E. Maybe I'll just grab your aggro Borg deck and like.
Sure, I would love to see you play me with it. Shove it up my ass for a change. That would be great.
When I had qualified for day 2, I was panicking because I knew there was likely going to be Borg. So we have a group chat going with the rest of the 1E exec team, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. And they all like play KCA, and I'm like, I didn't bring anything. I have one deck that I brought, and maybe somebody local who can print me some cards. So it was just this like 24-hour flurry of figuring out how to rebuild the Deans to not suck to the board.
Like, who is gonna play it? Like that's
Hoffman.
You think Jared was gonna play aggro Borg?
He brought aggro Borg. He did. Okay. He played aggro Borg. I just never played him because he lost his first game and I didn't. So
newsflash, KCA can't. No, sorry.
Well, they Michael style, where you hide at your homeworld the whole time.
And that's why I seeded 2 copies of Faux Pas, because they can't pass it, period.
Yeah. All right. Justin, what are you doing trek-wise?
As alluded to, of course, community will be getting the quarterly review coming out. So that's the focus between now and
playing wise. Oh,
Yeah, we've got local events will come in October. We decided to give ourselves a break the rest of September, and so we've got 1E and 2E in Bothell at the end of October, and then we'll resume scheduled normal. We do one event, one game each month for each edition, so two games a month. So November will be scheduled, and then I think there'll be some stuff up in Canada. I don't know when, but there will be some tournaments in Canada as well for any of you Canadian folks. I think Ken will be scheduling things, but I don't know yet any details.
Dig my passport out, come up and get some Timmies. So,
Yeah.
Chris.
I'm running the online masters this year in John's stead. I think John is playing. I'm also playing in the 1E event, or gonna try to. I might jump into 2E. We'll kind of see. It's a big ask for me to run and then play in both, but we'll kind of see. I'll just see how many people show up.
Sounds good.
You're playing Charlie, right? Aren't you playing?
I signed up for the 1E. I have a deck. I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll see. And I got bit by the bug again going to Worlds, so
It's so fun. Adam and TJ, are you guys playing on the 2E side?
I am not, just because I've got a lot going on between 1E tournaments online and a local that I'm running on October 12th. So
You're playing. That's all that matters.
yeah.
Shark, what do you got going on playing Trek-wise in the next
Yeah.
month?
I don't know. I'm playing the online tournaments like Adam, so a lot of online tournaments and hosting the German nationals. And if the British will host a tournament in London, I will take the opportunity to have a short trip to London too. Yeah.
Yeah, if any of the London crew are watching, I didn't have anybody to send a TUI British Nationals kit to. So there's one waiting for you in the warehouse. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Fritz, Nick.
All right.
And a huge shout out, of course. It is tricky playing in a high level event, especially a world championship. But I would say San Francisco was a huge success. Thanks to Michael for running all the events and playing in them and keeping things organized. So kudos to
And
Michael.
winning 2 out of the 3. So,
That is
You know,
insane.
let's not
how
minimize
you
that.
do that.
Yeah, but that dude got so lucky on Tribbles.
He did.
Yeah, he was set and ready to go with a 10 go to 100 poison or whatever it was.
If you think I'm annoying and need to be put in my place, watch the first round of Tribbles Worlds and watch me call
Spanked by a 9-year-old.
Tell Maggie's daughter the wrong name consistently. But to be fair, she looks exactly like you. And then me get punished the entire game because of it.
She skip you every time like she did to me.
Every time, like, it didn't matter if it
You're
was
welcome.
whether she had to do it or not. I was skipped and I was reversed away from the entire game.
Sounds like my event again in Orlando. Anyway,
big shout out to her though, because at one point we were ranting about the patriarchy. That became a joke, and at one point Ivy I almost did it again. Ivy said something about, screw the patriarchy, and Maggie was like, do you even know what the patriarchy is? She's like, no, but she just wanted to root for tearing down systems. So did good with that one.
Yeah, she's
that's a great way to end our meeting, by the way.
Yeah.
Screw the patriarchy.
Screw the patriarchy.
You already had a motion to adjourn, and now we're
5 white men.
Well, and then in the second round, Charlie's like, in a blow against the patriarchy, everybody have Maggie cut your decks. And I'm like, wait, I have to do all the work now?
Yes. All right, we've had a motion to adjourn. Does anyone oppose adjourning this meeting? All right, the motion carries. I will end this recording. We will post and have another. We will have one more meeting, probably 2 before the end of the year, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all for your time now live or watching later, and wish you a great rest of your September. So we will